If you are looking for a part-time job this season or time of year, the Denver Broncos are hiring at starting quarterback, but the job is seasonal because they don't last long there anyway. The Giants continue to show you that they are terrible, and the Jets may have hopped onto cocaine because we don't know where this level of play is coming from because we haven't seen it all year. The Titans dominate, and I'm starting to think that Tannehill could be a permanent solution for my team because I like what I see from him. The Baltimore Ravens look absolutely unstoppable in everything they do. The difference between Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton is that Lamar Jackson didn't come off as an arrogant prick during this whole entire run. The Ravens and 49ers play next week, and whoever wins that game is going to win the Super Bowl. That is my prediction. NFL Week 12 review. No one does it better. Folks, on another week coming off of football, yesterday was my Survivor Series review. And it was a big show, and I wanted to get that out to people as soon as possible. Meaning that I knew that the NFL Week 12 would get delayed. WWE has their pay-per-views on Sunday, usually about once a month. And during football season, I try to prioritize the WWE pay-per-view and then come the next day with the NFL review. These are a lot of work, but again, I put my time into it because I love football and I love sports. And I wanted to give my insight on all of this. And I think that this week in the NFL, you had a lot of everything. This was actually a rather more enjoyable week in the NFL to me. Obviously, this is the last week of NFL before you get your Thanksgiving games. Probably do the preview and predictions. I could do that later, actually. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do because I know that the week starts Thursday and I want to do my Thanksgiving predictions as well. Our first game of the week was Thursday night, and it was the Colts going to Houston to take on the Texans. And for a good portion of it, I was exactly right in my prediction. I said that Texans were going to edge this one out. Deshaun Watson had 298 yards and 2 touchdowns. Will Fuller was great, 7 receptions, 140 yards. DeAndre Hopkins had 2 touchdowns in this game. However, Jonathan Williams, who's been running for Marlon Mack and the Colts, also had a good game with 104 yards and a touchdown. 20-17 Texans. The Texans hold the sole spot of the AFC South, and they're looking as if they are probably going to win the AFC South. That would be my guess and my prediction. I would see the Texans winning the AFC South, and the Colts. I mean, at this rate, they're getting injuries and they're starting to get hurt a little bit more. So I'm a little bit nervous. Well, not nervous because I don't want to see the Colts win, but I'm not sure how I feel about the Colts moving forward and if they will make the playoffs or not, because the way that my Titans are playing, I think that we could easily swap that wild card spot from them, and I hope that we do. But I don't really know what we're going to get from them going forward if the Texans were to win this one. Seattle going to Philly to take on the Eagles. This really wasn't a great game for either team. We did see Carson Wentz look absolutely terrible in this game. Quite a few turnovers. Ertz did have himself a decent day with 12 receptions and 91 yards and a touchdown. Russell Wilson looked a little bit more human, but Rashad Penny, who was running for Chris Carson on the Seattle line of things, he ran pretty well. He had 129 yards and a touchdown. When it was all said and done, 17-9, the Seahawks were to win this game and continue their dominance. Seahawks did not dominate in this game, but again, the problem with the Eagles is that everybody is hurt. They are hurt. Carson Wentz, I have to give him some sympathy and defend him a little bit because he does not have anybody to throw to. Carson Wentz, he's not, I don't by any means think that he's not a good quarterback. He just does not have the weapons. The receivers are hurt. The offense looks like a shell of what it was, and for whatever reason, that is causing the Eagles to not put up points. So their defense is playing great, or I would say a lot better, but their offense is just, it's not moving, it's not connecting. Again, a lot of that is because Jackson, Aguilar, Jeffrey, they're all hurt. So, hate to see it, but the Eagles are going to continue to have losses like this probably for the rest of the year because of that. Lions and Redskins, Dwayne Haskins, another start for him. The Lions looked awful, and they have without Matthew Stafford. Jeff Driscoll threw 3 picks. Haskins did okay. The end of this game saw the Redskins get a late interception, and the Redskins were to get the ball on their line side of the field and hit a game-winning field goal late. 19-16 Redskins win. Dwayne Dwayne Haskins needs to watch himself because he was seen taking selfies and celebrating prior to the game's conclusion, which caused him to miss the last snap of the game, as I forgot who their backup was for the Redskins, would go out and take a knee because of that. So Dwayne Haskins, I don't know what it is about him. There's just something very odd where I felt like if the team did really good, he would be arrogant. I don't know what it is. It's too early to tell. But long story short, the Redskins get their win over the Lions, who looked absolutely hopeless and probably will on Thanksgiving Day as well. Raiders-Jets, MetLife Stadium. This was a massive shock to the football world and to most people as well. The Raiders have been actively vying for an AFC wildcard spot, as all of you know, and the Jets have had nothing to play for. To me, at this point in the year, the most dangerous teams are the ones that have nothing to play for, and that is what exactly happened. The Jets literally blew the brakes off of the Oakland Raiders. Massive shock, the Jets dominated. Darnold looked like a masterpiece. 315 yards and 2 touchdowns. Robbie Anderson was seen in this game with 4 receptions and 86 yards and a touchdown as well. The Jets stomp all over the Oakland Raiders and hurt their AFC wildcard playoff chances. 34-3 Jets. Again, the Jets have a very easy schedule to the second half of the year. It is too little too late, so even if they started to get on some type of roll, it is too late for this Jets team to really stick it to them. The best thing that they could do would be to win out and say we are on we are righting the ship and we are heading towards a more promising future. As you know, Adam Gase will be coming back as the coach next year. The Raiders definitely hurt. All of the teams that are battling for a wild card in the AFC at this point in the season, particularly the AFC, but it's very crucial that they don't lose anymore. The Titans have been doing great, but we can't afford losses. The Steelers can't afford losses. The Raiders can't afford losses. The Colts really can't afford losses. So again, that was a massive shock to everybody as well. Panthers Saints in New Orleans. Despite losing, Kyle Allen had himself a decent game, 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. DJ Moore was great, 6 receptions, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. Drew Brees continues to go off, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns. Michael Thomas may be on his way to set the single-season catch record. I know he's past 100. He had 10 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. A field goal as time expired would give the Saints the win in this game, 34-31 Saints, as they continue their dominance. The Saints' problem in the playoffs will be their defense. I don't think that we'll have any problem scoring points. I don't think Michael Thomas will have any problem. He hasn't had a problem all year breaking past his defender. It will be scoring points for the New Orleans Saints. The next game was the Cleveland Browns coming out party. Cleveland Browns were hosting the Miami Dolphins in Cleveland, and the Browns beat the brakes off of them. Baker Mayfield had himself a good day, 327 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was a great day for Chubb, as always, 106 yards and a touchdown. Rushing, Landry went off. He had 10 receptions for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns. We saw Odell Beckham, 6 receptions, 84 yards, and his second touchdown of the season. Despite being on the losing end of it, Devontae Parker for the Miami Dolphins did have himself a decent game with 6 receptions and 91 yards. 41-24 Browns win it. You see clearly Baker Mayfield has been playing a little bit better, and the Browns have as a whole. Again, how much of a measuring stick is this game really, because they're playing the Miami Dolphins? But the team has been playing better. Again, is it too little too late? I think so. So even if the Browns were to win out, it's too late for them. It's too late. So you see teams like the Jets and the Browns trying to right their ways. I think the Browns are a better team than the Jets, but I just think that it is too little too late for them to try to right their ways. Had the Browns started off 0-3 and then started winning, I think that would be a little bit better. But again, it was all-around good performance for the Cleveland Browns in this game, and they were to seal that deal. Steelers and Bengals in Cincinnati. Rudolph was benched in the third quarter because the Steelers were fearing that they may actually give the Cincinnati Bengals their first win. Rudolph benched in the third, like I said. Benny Snell Jr. was running for the injured James Conner, 98 yards. Rushing, James Washington caught well for Pittsburgh, 3 receptions, 98 yards. And Tyler Boyd was a factor for Cincinnati, 5 receptions, 101 yards. And 16-10, the Steelers were to beat the Bengals. The Bengals, on paper, just by default, are the worst team in the NFL. They're 0-11. That is absolutely terrible. It's just I really don't know what else there is to say about the Bengals. Nothing has been going their way all season. They bench Andy Dalton, and here's what I don't get. When a team is doing terrible, the first person that someone blames is the coach. And if the coach is not the problem, generally speaking, the team blames the quarterback. Andy Dalton still gives you the best chance to win. So I understand why they're benching him, but I don't at the same time, because you have this guy, Ryan Finley coming in? You have him coming in to start for the Bengals, and he's looked absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. At least when Andy Dalton was in the game, the Bengals were losing, but they were putting up points. Andy Dalton is clearly the superior quarterback, and I think, like I said, when it's all said and done, you have to roll with what gives you the best chance to win. And Andy Dalton gives the Bengals the best chance to win at quarterback. I know you can say whatever you want to say. That's just my opinion. Not everybody agrees with it. But if this continues, the Bengals will be winless this year, and that is where I'm going with it. Because I think the Jets are going to beat the brakes off of them next week. Giants-Bears in Chicago. Allen Robinson was a top performer for the Bears. 6 receptions, 131 yards. Khalil Mack had a strip sack in this game. You knew he was going to get his hands on Daniel Jones one way or another, especially with the fact that the Bears' defense has been as good as it is. You knew that they were going to have some factor and eat Daniel Jones alive. 19-14 Chicago. There's really no top performers outside of that, so there's not much else I could really say if I even wanted to. Giants look terrible. Barkley's not running well. The receivers haven't done much. Darius Slayton really has been the only decent receiver, I feel like, for the Giants. Daniel Jones is struggling, like I said, but it's his rookie season, and I know. But we've seen, it's really hard to evaluate Daniel Jones at this point in the year because we've seen a lot of promise in Daniel Jones, but then at the same time, I feel like we haven't seen enough, if it makes sense. A game against the Bears, you don't make excuses, but you kind of give it to him in a way because against the Bears defense, a rookie quarterback, you kind of expected this. I'm surprised the Giants were even able to put up 14 points against the Chicago Bears defense. All said and done, the Bears defense continues to carry him. Trubisky threw some picks in this game, but it wasn't an absolutely abysmal game for Trubisky. The Bears' run game, like I said, has been absolutely non-existent all year, and that was your top performer. Broncos-Bills in Buffalo. The Denver Broncos, like I mentioned in the intro, are hiring quarterbacks because their quarterback, Brandon Allen, is terrible. Singletary ran well for the Bills, 106 yards. Allen had a decent game for the Bills, 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Broncos could muster up absolutely nothing. I don't know what it was. I think Brandon Allen had 82 yards as a quarterback. Sometimes you literally see Lamar Jackson run for 82 yards alone in his games. Absolutely terrible performance, 20-3 Bills. Bills defense completely shuts down the Broncos and everything it stands for. I understand a lot of it is on defense, but you have to give credit where it is due. The Bills are still 8-3. They are still 8-3. Next game, Buccaneers and Falcons. Couldn't have been any more wrong about this prediction. I tried to give the Falcons the benefit of the doubt. They may have a legitimate chance to win out this year. Just because the last 2 games prior to this one, the Atlanta Falcons have played their best football of the season. Jameis Winston continues to be a clusterfuck. 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, and I think he had 2 picks as well. A monster day for Chris Godwin, who's been killing it all year. 7 receptions, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley had an appearance for the Falcons, 6 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. I don't know what Julio Jones did in this game. 35-22, Tampa Bay wins. Again, the problem for the Buccaneers has never been that they can't put up points because they have one of the most dominant offenses, at least in terms of their wide receivers. You have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both throw to. There's no way in hell you can't be good. But Winston is really, he is such a mixed bag because he'll throw for yards, but he throws interceptions. He's just so inconsistent and just so all over the place. Buccaneers won. Falcons obviously not going to win out. I really thought that the tables were going to be reversed in this game, but I was wrong, and that is that. The game of the week for me, because 1, I'm a fan, and 2, I watched it, was the Jaguars going to Nashville to take on the Titans in the second of 2 meetings of these teams of the year. The first meeting resulted in the Jaguars shutting us down and Mariota having himself a brutal day as the Jacksonville Jaguars defense was all over us. Today, And this game on Sunday couldn't have been any more different. It was a monster day for Derrick Henry. Top 5 running back in the league, by the way. Thank you, people. Monster day for Derrick Henry, 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown, again, catching off the seams. 4 receptions, 135 yards, and a touchdown. Tannehill had a great day, 259 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he rushed for a touchdown as well. There was a play in this game where Tannehill jumped into the end zone. I would highly advise that he does not do that anymore, because I thought for a minute that he was dead. Fournette ran for 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, top performer for Jacksonville, and Titans scored 4 touchdowns in 6 plays. That's unbelievable. The Titans beat the living hell out of the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game, 42-20, and the Jaguars had some offense, but they could not keep up with us if they tried. This continues to roll the ball for the Tennessee Titans. As I continue to hope that we can secure a wild card spot. We've won 4 of our last 5 games, and I think the ship is definitely heading in the right direction for the Titans. We needed that spark on offense, and this is really what I think that we needed. Our defense has been phenomenal for the most part all season, and now our offense is really starting to kick up. I'm loving what I see. The receivers are catching the ball. Derrick Henry's running even better. Offensive line is playing a little bit better, but they still, they still got to step it up a little bit. I think our line needs to be buffed, and that is pretty much that. So we have the Colts next week. That could go either way, but I think it's going to be a lot different from our first meeting. Cowboys-Patriots, 4 o'clock frame. Awful day for both teams. Both running backs had 80-yard, were in the 80-yard range. Edelman had 93 yards for the New England Patriots, and that was really it. 13-9, the Patriots beat the Cowboys. The weather was horrible, but at the same time, I don't know how much longer we are going to continue making excuses for the Patriots' level of play. Yes, they're 10-1, and their defense is phenomenal. But outside of that, what do they have? What do they have? It's just not, they're not great. They're 10-1, but you can, by looking at them, they don't look like they'd be 10-1. All said and done, they're still the Patriots, and that's where you got to give credit. Monday night frame game. Now, we know the 49ers have the best defense in football, but I tried to give the benefit of the doubt to the Packers that they'd be able to put up a good fight against them. And could I have been any more wrong? No. The Packers were completely shut down by the 49ers defense. Jimmy Garoppolo had 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. George Kittle was a top receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, as he's been great all year. 6 receptions, 129 yards and a touchdown. The 49ers beat the brakes off of the Packers 37-8. The Packers were completely shut down. No run game. Aaron Rodgers just eclipsed 100 yards. No receivers that did anything of any importance. And that just goes to show you that the Green Bay Packers will not get past an extremely elite defense. And the 49ers having the best defense in the league that they do, they're going to be a hard team to beat in the NFC. I really do believe that the Super Bowl goes through either the Seahawks or the 49ers, but really right now, I think the Seahawks have the better offense, but I think that the defense in the 49ers is better. So that's why the 49ers and Seahawks matched up so great a few weeks ago, is because they both have a little bit to offer on each side of the football field. But I'm going to probably stick my tongue and say that the Seahawks and 49ers, one of them got to go to the Super Bowl. Final game of the week. I usually don't review the Monday night games, but you are all in for a treat. Holy hell. The Baltimore Ravens are the hottest team in football because they continue to shut down every single team that thinks they have a chance to beat them. Lamar Jackson has been unbelievable this year, and if I'm correct, he had 169 yards, but he also had a lot of rushing yards, and he had 5 touchdowns. Mark Ingram, it was a big day for him, 111 yards and a touchdown. Robert Woods was a top receiver for the Rams, 97 yards. The Ravens beat the living hell out of the LA Rams, 45-6. They will probably be representing the Super Bowl in the AFC. I know the New England Patriots are always there, but if I could be honest with you, there's just something about the Ravens that just, they're a better team than the Patriots, and that's just really what it comes down to. This is really it. Again, this NFL was a complete mixed bag. This week in the NFL, rather, was a completely mixed bag. I hope everybody enjoyed this review. This is probably one of my better reviews because I feel like my insight was just better than it normally is. That is really all I have for you guys. Thank you for watching.